What's up, everyone? Vince Ingenito here. I'm the guy that got to review Evolve for IGN, and I'm sitting here with my friends Mitch,
me,
James,
hello,
and Alex.
Hi.
And now we're going to jump into some of the finer points of what we think makes Evolve so wonderful. But before that, let's take a look at the review. It's really rare for a big multiplayer AAA release like Evolve to feel so considered and intelligent. Everything, every skill, every mechanic, every design choice seems to interlock in a way that's both natural and purposeful. That it's so mechanically rich and still conveys the raw energy and fun of duking it out with huge monsters and action figure-esque hunters is a real design feat. Its progression system stifles it a bit early on, but regardless, Evolve is a deeply rewarding multiplayer experience that packs both brains and brawn. Alright, so now let's talk about the bread and butter of what makes Evolve so outstanding, at least in my esteem. It's the skills, it's the team compositions, it's the synergies between them, and how they interact with the monsters' different approaches and tactics that they want to take.
It's the nerd stuff.
It's the nerd stuff. It's the stuff that honestly has consumed you and I. Like James and I, especially over the last 2 days, have been just sitting around and just nerding out.
You're
about
analyzing
this
the meta of
Yeah,
Evolve.
absolutely. Analyzing the meta of Evolve. So I think one of the reasons that the game has such legs for me is that skills that seem like they're obvious in use at first end up having a totally different use. Like Alex, I think you have a story about the mobile arena, which is the trapper's standard class ability. Every trapper has that. It's the big dome. You know, for people at home, it's that big like blue electric dome that goes up that allows you to keep the monster trapped in during a hunt so that you can, take him down. But you found another use for it when you were playing Nest mode, which is the mode where you have to go around destroying all the monster's eggs.
Well, if you have a nice selfless trapper, the trapper can dome himself in with the monster in nest mode, while the other three guys try and bust up as many eggs as they can. And of course, I mean, the monster just destroys the poor trapper. But meanwhile, you can get a couple eggs down, which is huge.
Yeah, even 30 seconds, right? Like if you can just stay alive for that long, great.
Right.
And Abe is particularly good at that. I mean, like Abe can just throw down a bunch of stasis grenades, just
Yeah.
be like, "Come at me, bro! Like, what are you gonna do?"
That's very true.
You're walking in molasses. Like, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. For me, one of the big things that I've changed my feelings on over the course of the game has been Hank's Orbital Strike. When I first used it, don't get me started.
Why are we awing about the Orbital Strike?
It's
awesome.
He's not a believer. He's not a believer, but I'll tell you why he should be a believer. Him and I've had this discussion constantly over the last 2 days.
I'll tell you why. Damage amp.
Yeah, damage. Oh my God. Yeah. So we'll totally get to how damage amp works into that. But it's like, so on the surface, it's just like, hey, look, it's a haymaker punch. It's this big, slow, ungainly ability that allows you to do tons of damage by dropping missiles down on the monster's head. So it's just a Hail Mary, right? I thought at first you just kind of use it whenever it's off cooldown to try to get a shot on the monster. If it hits, great, we got lots of damage. If not, then oh well. But what it's totally come into its own as for me is as an area denial tool. Like you'll learn as you play the game more that the monster, his main objective, or her, if you're playing Wraith, the monster's main objective is to get alone time with one hunter. Just kind of pull him off into the corner and be like, hey, let's come and talk over here with my hands all over your face. And that's what monsters want to do. They want to bully you into a corner and keep you there. And then once they've incapacitated you, a lot of monsters want to stand over that incapacitated hunter and either work him down, or they want to at least guard, kind of like puppy guard the corpse so that no one can come and res it. Well, they just can't do that with Hank in the team. If Hank is on the team, they simply can't do that because they'll be punished with a strike. By standing that incapacitated hunter, or that hunter that's been cornered and trapped against the wall, they are a commitment from the monster. The monster says, I am going to stay here. And then Hank gets to say, then you are going to take this much damage at least. And you can really not make that, like you were saying, with Cabot on the team as well. Oh, actually, no, you couldn't have Cabot. You couldn't have
he's
Cabot.
the same class, isn't he?
Right. But you could have Val. And if they put weak spots on that monster,
for sure.
the
Orbital Strike
can hit those. It gives you massive damage. Stasis grenade. So there's lots of ways to lock them down.
Any kind of movement controlling move in conjunction with that orbital strike is awesome. And I love the communication that's necessary to pull that off. Getting on the mic like,
but it
I'm
never
about to drop
happens is the
this.
problem.
Oh,
It happened in my game last night.
You play pickups with Scrubs.
I played a pickup with Scrubs last night, and it happened.
The dream
and
of
everybody
Orbital
loved
Strike
it.
is, yes, there's an area denial
It's not
tool
a dream.
because your monster's
First of all,
a pro.
I'm going to stop you for a second. It's not a dream. It's a reality. But
okay, so the way it really works in games where you don't have friends like me, because Vince refused to add me on Steam. Is the arena goes up, you have this sweet fight, and then the monster escapes out with 1 bar of health, and then Hank's like, YOLO, and tosses that, and then you try and chase and get knocked back like a mile. Same
That's
thing.
the worst.
That's how it works.
But if
And
you're an
same thing with
incapacitated hunter or a hunter that's trapped in the corner, that's the best.
It
Like,
is good.
You're
Right.
an incapacitated hunter lying on the ground, and all of a sudden this orbital strike just like not
And
only
poison grenade
messes
too.
the monster up.
Poison grenade
Yeah.
is my least favorite ability.
Which you hate
because-
too, I know.
Yeah, because the instances when it's good, I will give Orbital Strike. It has the potential to be totally awesome. It can totally be an area denial tool. It can totally do a ton of damage. You can totally drop it on a monster who's evolving. All these things. Poison grenade, the payoff is like, yeah, you do a little bit of ticking damage. The detriment is that your entire team runs through this thing and you blow a complete opportunity to engage in a fight.
But if you're using it the right way, your team shouldn't be running through it. They should be throwing it to make the monster want to come to them and come off
but
of where he is.
a lot of the times it always has an out, so it's just like, well, there's a wall of slow. I'm going to go this way.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about them making the slow effect. I'm kind of sure that wasn't. I'm kind of sure in beta or in alpha that the poison grenade didn't do
No, it
that.
did have friendly
fire?
Well, it's not that it does friendly fire now. It
But it
doesn't-
affects you.
But it slows any teammates that are walking through
questionable.
it. So yeah, I agree that's questionable. But enough about your not liking area control abilities.
Well, this is what's so cool about Evolve. It has this depth, and you can get into the nitty gritty of the
start
characters
theory
and the
crafting
composition.
and-
Exactly, it's definitely like a theory crafter's game, and I'm excited to see a touchy subject. The DLC, regardless of how it's priced or whatever.
Right, the new monsters
I
and the
want to
new-
see
and the new hunters.
what is added to
Yeah.
it, and,
Yeah.
and the
Sure.
synergies between all of the hunters. And also, we haven't really talked about the monsters. I mean, the monsters'
yeah, let's
gameplay
get into that.
tactics. Mind games.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
about that. It's
Remember
all
the
about
first time you played a monster who knew how to crouch? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Game changer.
Yep.
Yeah, it was
Huge.
actually the other night. Like there was this huge pillar, and there were It was like Winnie the Pooh or something. There were footprints around the entire pillar and nothing else. And our team literally circled it twice, and we were just like, "What's going on?"
That's like
He's
when
like, Daisy's running in circles,
we
and
didn't
I
have
don't
Daisy.
understand
I was
why.
playing Griffin for the first
Oh, you're
time.
playing
And I was
Griffin.
like, I am such a screw up right now because Daisy would know.
that's the moment
But-
where you throw down the dome, like, oh, he's probably here.
And then the monster's off in the corner snickering.
Yeah. No, that's the good stuff too, right? Like you have the 20 seconds, whatever, at the beginning as the monster. And I would always just run in circles at the landing pad, crouch, and then leap away.
Yes.
Like, have fun.
Have fun, guys. Figure it
Or I'd
out.
like run off to the south, turn around, crouch, leap to the north, and just be on my way. Nobody be any the wiser.
No, but no, being careful as the monster, like I said before, is surprisingly not only effective, but it's kind of required. If you don't do that, then I think you will just get found.
Totally.
And the earlier the engagement happens, the worse off it is for you. But on that topic, one of the things that I think has been really interesting to me about, we were talking about theory crafting, and actually I've seen this stuff in practice a lot since the game has gone live, is how some teams are kind of more geared towards forcing early engagements and winning them.
You kind of have to.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the only viable strategy. Like, there is no late game for the
that's true.
hunters.
Well, no, I see. No, the way I slightly disagree with that. So first of all, if you let the monster get to stage 3 and you haven't eaten into their real health, you're done.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
you
I mean,
lost.
so
Yeah,
in that sense, you
you've
need to
lost.
force early
Okay?
engagement.
You don't necessarily need to force a super early one, but you need to be able to. You can't just let the monster
You
do its
have
thing
to
for
fight
10
it at
minutes.
level
You have
2.
to fight it. Yeah,
You have to fight it at level 2.
You know,
at the
yeah.
latest.
At least
Right.
by level 2, you have to fight it. You have to get. Here's the thing. Most monsters, I feel like eventually, unless they're, I don't want to say unless they're bad. Maybe the hunter team's really good. Most monsters are gonna get to stage 3. The question is, do they get to stage? Do you fight them at stage 3 with full armor and 3/4 of their health, or do you fight them with no armor and half their health? You know what I mean? Like, and that's the huge difference, because I feel like a monster stage 3 with full armor and full health. Nope, you're not. Unless those
you're
hunters,
God tier.
I was going to say, unless those hunters are being played by the hands of God himself, that is not, gonna happen.
Well, it's a soft and rage mechanic.
Yeah.
It's just basically it gets to a point where if no action has happened, you've been completely inactive. There's no winning for you. And this is kind of where there's a lot of areas. And forgive me for saying this, Mitch, but there's a lot of areas where Evolve treads into the MOBA territory.
Totally.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
it like, hey, don't let that dude get free farmed.
Yeah,
Exactly, right, yeah.
That's exactly the thing. You have to harass them off their farm. You
Big
can't
time.
just let them sit there in the jungle. Literally, in this case, in this game, you can't just let them sit there in the jungle
Yeah.
eating.
Farming
I
jungle.
mean, that's
you
the
know.
whole thing. Like, this game is one giant gank.
Yeah,
Right.
it's one huge Roshan fight, not Baron fight. Roshan fight.
Oh, so it's
Goliath's basically Roshan.
It's Grave Golem now. I'm playing as your
Oh
hero.
God. No, but about the team compositions and how they play into that. So what I'll tell you is this: You're right. You want to force early engagements if you can, but the flip side of that is that if you go with a team that's so all in for right now, then you could end up in a situation where you don't have what you need to fight at stage 3. Because what you need to fight at stage 3 to have any chance is you need to have some kind of ability to set up a defensive perimeter. Maggie has, the harpoon traps. More importantly, Markov has the arc mines, and Bucket has the sentry turrets. Those 3 together create a very stable pack for if we chip away at the monster's real health throughout the course of this match, and we can get him to half health, going into stage 3 where we know he's coming to the generator, we're not in great shape, but we can fight at that point.
That's the
we
big
can
thing,
still
too.
fight then. If you go with a team that's all about right now, if you're listen, I'm going to go with Kyra, and I'm going to go with Parnell because I want his super bursty damage right now, and we're going to go with Cabot on support because he's going to be able to amp all that damage, and we're going to kill this
And
monster
Abe.
very very quickly early, right? And Abe, right, who's great at controlling the fight, but terrible.
fight squad.
Right.
When you need lockdown, you need AoE, you need some kind of crowd control
Right,
at all
sure.
times, whether that's slow
But if you-
or a harpoon.
But if you put all your eggs into this, I'm gonna get them fast and early,
And then you don't.
and then you
Right,
don't.
you better find the
and
monster.
You better
Yeah,
find the
with that
monster and kill
composition,
it right
right.
away. Because if it gets to stage 3 and you don't have any of those area denial or those defensive skills, you're just not going to win. You're just going to auto lose once they hit stage 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing as in you're using the MOBA comparison. This is the same thing. Sometimes your strategy is look, we need to jump on this particular hero
Yep.
fast, otherwise they're going to get out of control. And it's kind of the same dynamic, and I find
Right.
that really interesting.
Right. There's never. I mean, that being said, there's never a time you don't want to fight the monster at level 1.
Right.
It's always
It's always
the
beneficial
goal.
if you can
Right.
do it.
Right, because the
right.
heroes never get the hunters never get stronger.
Right.
So-
Right. They're just flat power.
You just get
level
outmatched
stuff.
eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. What I found to be one of the most effective team compositions that was just really harassing me was Kyra on med, Bucket on support, and then it was Maggie on Trapper. Maggie's giving them the basic direction they need to go to. Kyra's giving them the speed boost, and then once we're in the vicinity, Bucket
Yeah.
has got that UAV after me the whole time. I mean, I had this terrible bad luck where the first nibble of a meal I took, it just carrion birds, because the carrion birds are kind of randomish. When they come in, the spotter birds are set in the map, but sometimes
Right.
a carrion bird just shows up,
like,
hey,
oh, you're
what's up?
feeding.
Let me
Right.
share. It seems like you're enjoying this meal, and they just show up. And that happened to be early on, and then they were just. It was either a UAV following me the whole time, or they were nipping out my heels with the adrenal boost from
Right.
Kyra, and they always knew the direction to look for me with Maggie, and I just
Right.
could not get away, and they were just dogging me the whole time.
And that's a very frantic kind of game to play as a monster, but there is a stark contrast to then getting completely having the upper hand on your opponent and playing like a psychopath and just messing with them.
Oh, yeah.
And having a ton of fun. I was playing against a Kraken who I missed an arena. Sorry.
That's the worst
yeah,
feeling.
and he stood right outside of the arena and he looked at me. And I was like,
You two had a moment.
yeah. and then he just flew away. And it was,
He's like, this could have been us.
it was great fun. And it's those kinds of emergent, silly experiences that I think grant this game more longevity than people give it credit for, or at least I did initially, for sure. That being said, I'm interested to see if I'm playing it in a month. We'll see.
Yeah, but you know what? If I play the game only for the next 2 months and I get the amount of enjoyment that I've been having out of it, then to me that will have been absolutely time and money well spent.
Totally. I mean, I played 20 hours and I liked it. And if I'm done now forever, right on. I got 20 hours.
You got 20
fun.
hours of enjoyment out of it, yeah. And there's
Easy.
absolutely nothing wrong with that.
And it's a very unique experience, too.
Yeah.
So.
That's the thing. It's an experience that whether you decide you want to play it for 20 hours or you decide you want to watch streams and invest in it for the long term, whether or not it's going to have that long term, who knows? It's hard to tell
Right.
in the early days of a game. But whether or not it has it, I do feel like the experience is something that's worth having for anyone who cares about multiplayer games, because it is the kind of experience that really you haven't been able to have before. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us for the discussion. Thank you so much, folks at home, for listening to us nerd out and babble about this stuff for so long. What are some of your favorite skills and favorite team compositions or your favorite monster tactics? Totally let us know in the comments below. And for more on Evolve, keep it right here on IGN.